All right. Thanks for being here. Jodi Pavlock, writer. Yeah. I was looking at your website and kind of about the author and looked at and saw the trumpeter, vocalist, driver. That stuff's cool.
Yes, thank you.
What is your writing space like?
Yeah, this is my first book. I honestly never even had a thought to write a book in the past. I really wasn't a school person. Let's just say I was in school for band, with the music and everything. But my experience that I went through with my ex, specifically the one I just left, it just inspired me to write the book because I wanted it to be therapeutic, which it was, and just to let other people know that these kinds of unfortunate situations happen and that you're not alone. And I wanted to share my personal story and be vulnerable and just be real and raw and show how I got out of that abusive situation.
How long did it take from the first thought of writing a book to having finished it?
Believe it or not, 1 month.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, kind of poured out of me.
So when you were writing, did you have like specific time set aside to write it or just whenever you could?
Uh, I made sure I had time set aside every day for it, some more than others, but I knew exactly in my mind, chronologically what I wanted to put. And I always tell everybody there could have been so much more I could have been in there because it was almost a 9-year relationship, but I wanted to stick to the highest to highs, lowest to lows, and then, the big boom, the ending and other choice stuff I put. And I didn't want the book to get boring or redundant. So I think I made a very good book as grabs you in, you kind of embody what I was going through and you go through the motions with me. That's what a lot of readers have said that when they reached out to me. So I just, I put a timeline in my head. I didn't even say like, hey, this has to be written in a month. It just was completed in a month. I couldn't believe it myself. And then I said, all right, with all the proofreading, the editing, getting it out, I promised myself before the holidays, December 2024, which that's when it came out, about 2 weeks before Christmas.
And when you were writing it, did you set a time when you were writing, like a word count or a time that you would write for the day or a topic, or how'd you do that?
Not really. I just kind of just winged it, to be honest. I just went back in my mind and just thought chronologically what happened. And then I'd fix chapters, and that helped me stay organized because, I did the preface, about the author, then went right into chapter one, how it all began. And once I just started writing, if I had a little more time to do 3 chapters in one day, I would. Some chapters are more lengthier than others, but I just kept going at it. And then once I came towards the end, I was like, wow, okay, I said the story.
Did you have an outline that you wrote out, or are you going just from your head?
Just went in from my head, raw and real, just boom, just right in the portal, just kept doing it, going back, fixing things here and there. I didn't want to get too ahead of myself. Sometimes my brain works a little faster than I could type and write. So I would just pour it out, fix it, and then keep continuing on from there.
And how about your publishing? How'd you do that?
Yeah, I'm self-published right now, so I just wanted to get the book out there. I mean, it's been doing pretty well for itself for me being, considered an unknown. I have it on Amazon. There's 15 other platforms. It's also on Barnes and Nobles online. I'm working on getting it in the stores currently. And I just been getting nonstop requests for podcasts, which is amazing. I appreciate all the opportunities I can get. Speaking engagements, everything I can do to just promote the book, but more importantly, put the message out there and help people. So, the self-publishing route, it's a little harder. I'm reaching out to literary agents and other publishing companies now, maybe possibly doing a second edition or just a bigger platform, but I'm handling it pretty well for myself right now. So
Did you self-publish through like KDP, or did you go with a self-publishing service?
I just did it by myself, and I kind of learned the ways how to go through Amazon. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like Amazon. I first used that in maybe 2014 timeframe. Before that, I did a self-published book through a service,
Okay.
and I haven't used the service since then. But KDP has really come along in the amount of time that I've been using it, with all the ability to create the covers and choose the size of the book, the size of the font, the paper, all that. It's nice. Plus, it's printed in the U.S. Usually, I think they
Yes,
have two printing areas, one on the East and West Coast.
absolutely.
Look, that's what it was, but that's nice. So then, with the self-publishing, did you self-publish or did you publish a ebook and soft cover and hardcover, or which?
Yes, I did ebook, soft cover, hardcover, and Audible as well. So I did everything because I wasn't going to do Audible, but then, like I said, me really the first time being a writer and with books and stuff. One of my good friends I grew up with, she's like, you got to do Audible. She goes, you don't know how many people like rather listen to books on tape because like she's a busy mother. She goes, I'll put my, earbuds in and I'll just listen while I'm cleaning or taking care of the kids and stuff. I'm like, all right, that's a good point. So a lot of sales have come from Audible too, which is good.
And how did you go about doing that? Did I take it you read it for Audible?
Yes. No, well, I read it, but then I had a voiceover artist do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't done a audiobook. What's the process for that?
It wasn't too bad. Like I would read it to myself, and then I said, let me get a professional voiceover, and then I went on the website and I looked to hire somebody. I obviously wanted a woman because it's, my book. And I just liked her feel and how she read it. And I picked her, and then she did a good job.
Did she do different voices for different characters or different tone or inflection, or just read it straight through?
A little different tone and reflection, and I told her kind of what I was looking for. I wanted to have a little bit of to her voice, but serious when she had to be. And then there's, I break up the seriousness with a little bit of comedy in the book or just comedic relief. And I told her, you can tone it down a little bit, then bring it back up. So she kind of understood what I was looking for, and it sounded pretty good to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then of your sales, is it more than half is the Audible sales, or how's it
I
stack up
think
to the other?
it's pretty much at a tie because a lot of people wanted the actual book. A lot of hardcovers, believe it or not, more paperback, and there's been a lot of Audible too. The only thing with Amazon, they're kind of like backlogged, like at least 60 days I've been seeing with the sales. So I have to go back and look continuously to see, what's outselling one. But like I said, any way, shape, or form to get the book out, I'm happy.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
I like the Amazon platform for it. And then, so getting it into stores, is that also through Amazon that you're doing that, or did you have to do something extra to get it into different stores?
I might have to go through a company for that. So that's what I'm exploring now. I was going to do it right away, but like I said, I was thinking of maybe getting a literary agent or bigger publishing platform before I do that. So I'm just like exploring that now. But again, it's doing well. But the most sales are from Amazon. That's just where everybody goes. Boom, put my name in, the title of the book, pops right up.
Yeah, I can't remember the percentage last time I looked, but I thought it was around 80% of book sales are through Amazon. So it's a good platform to have it on. If you were just having, through one place, it's not bad. You really get.
Absolutely.
Are you still writing anything else? Do you have anything else planned?
Not at the current moment. I'm just, like I said, promoting this, putting my all into it. There could be, say, a little part two of the craziness that's happened after since I wrote the book and it came out. But more importantly, this I don't like to overload myself. So I'm just focusing on this project for now.
Okay. Or is there any other type of writing that you do that's not published, like whether it's songwriting or poetry or other?
Um, it's songwriting, yes, because I was very close in my 20s, which wasn't that long ago. I'd like to tell that to myself, to getting a record deal back in the day in like the 2000s.
Okay. I think you dropped out for a minute. You were talking about your record deal close to a record deal back in the 2000s.
Yes, yes. Back in the 2000s, I went to London, New York, Atlantic City. I recorded a whole album. I came very close to getting a record deal. I went to like at least three of the big major labels, and I got three callbacks to, I think it was Sony Records. And, I did my creativeness, the songwriting. London was the most fun for me. That was cool to be there. This was the first time I was there. They co-wrote with me. So I had a really fun time. So I've always had that creative juice in me, let's say. So
Is the music side like the source of that creativity, the feeling you get when you're either playing music or singing? Is that different than writing?
I would say yes, because, when I started music back in middle school, then high school, then after high school with the songwriting and recording, it was from a different headspace and different life experiences then. Like, obviously, there wasn't much life experience. So it was just more passionate about the music. The book is just more personal, my real and raw story. And it's just like a different feel, but it all comes from the same, place.
Hmm. There's probably some, I mean, you could do your music on YouTube or some other place, and I think you can upload things on Spotify and such. If you're just doing music, I would think so. I haven't
Yes,
done
I
any of
have
that.
I have a bunch of my songs on Reverb Nation. There's always these
Okay.
competitions and stuff, and it's like, I think it's like Battle of the Bands or something it's called, but it's more for independent artists. And I always submit my songs once in a while in between promoting the book and doing my real estate. So I always get picked. I think the one week I got picked like number 4. So it just kept going on to the next week, the next week. So I'm gonna jump back on that again and get it out there.
That's exciting. Are you still doing the trumpet stuff, or is that more of a
I have not played in many years, but it's all still in my mind. I remember because I was diligent about that. I mean, I probably practiced at least 3, 4 hours a day. That was like my love. I really, really wanted to go to music school after high school, but back then, 23 years ago, it was like at least 60,000 a year to go to school. And we just couldn't afford it, my family and I. So I just kept up with playing that, and then life gets in the way. But I certainly still do remember I had my middle school teacher who noticed like the first 2 weeks after I started playing that I had something special. He called my parents in. I had private lessons with him. I had somebody from Broadway come. I think when I was in ninth grade, I made Regents Orchestra, which is almost like half the state of New Jersey. And out of 300 trumpet players, they narrowed it down to 9. And then I did a challenge for the first seat, and I got picked first. So the orchestra director liked me so much. I wound up getting a full scholarship just for the summer when I was 14 years old to go to Drew University playing with college kids at their level. So I was very advanced, and even with my Broadway teacher that came, I was in ninth grade, and there was this book called Arden Book of Music. I blew through it in like 2 months. And he told my parents, he said, listen, Jody's got a real God given talent. I could come and just literally just be her playing partner with the trumpet. And he goes, but it'd be a waste of money for me to keep charging you. He goes, there's not much I could teach her anymore. She knows everything. So, I was very advanced with that. And I was proud of it, but I didn't want to teach music. I wanted to perform. So I wanted my performance degree. And, once they told me in college, just like everything in life, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I didn't want to walk around with a $300,000 education, and then God forbid not meet the right people to get my performance. So I don't regret it, because like I said, if it was meant to be, I would have went. And I honestly don't know how I would have pulled off a student loan in that amount and size. They wouldn't even give me financial aid back then. It was just ludicrous. But it's still in my mind, and I'll pick it up again one day soon, hopefully.
Was there a big difference between high school band and college level? Did you see, was it
Um,
noticeable?
well, yeah, I mean, in high school, a lot of people just, play the same notes, or they're not that great at it. And I'm not making fun of them. A lot of them, their parents forced them to be in band, or they just don't want to be there. They don't take it seriously. But they were more at my level, let's just say, the seriousness, their skill. everything. So I enjoyed doing that. And then when I made all those Bergen County bands and regions bands, it was, like I said, people at my level, my technique, so it was definitely a different experience. But again, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Is the difference between that level, is it practice at playing music or is it understanding of musical theory?
I think it's a little bit of all of that, a little bit of
Oh,
everything. And I didn't even take music theory until like 11th or 12th grade because I really wasn't interested in it much. And I, paid attention, but I already had such a grasp on the whole music theory concept. It's like, I don't mean, how do I say it without being rude? It's like I was past that already. I was beyond it. There was nothing, when it came to the trumpet, there was nothing challenging for me. So, and I'm a person that gets bored very easily. That's why I would practice like 3 to 4 hours a day because I just wanted to always be the best. And I will say I was for a very long time the best trumpet player in the state of New Jersey. But I certainly put the work in and the effort. And I just kept at it and kept at it because I didn't ever want it to get boring or lose my touch. And I really didn't. And I just loved it and I just kept going with it. I was in Bergenfield High School marching band, which they're world renowned for that. I think I was the last class. I think it was 2000. We were the last one that did the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. It was freezing out that day, but again, these are all cool experiences that I had growing up. So
yeah, a brass instrument in the freezing. That's not
yes,
great.
no, no, and it was a cold day. Let me tell you, we had to like line up at 3 o'clock in the morning for the parade. Couldn't use the bathroom, couldn't get a drink of water, anything. You were just there and, your little cuddly duds underneath your uniform, and then you just lined up and went out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Seems like you could get some trumpet, like if there was time, some trumpet gigs on the weekends playing somewhere. Either did you like all types of trumpet music or were you more of a jazz or rock, or I don't know how they divide that up?
I did everything. Like I said, marching band, regular band, orchestra, jazz. I really, I'm a Gemini, so I like a little mix of everything. I loved everything as long as it interested me. And one thing I used to do with my grandma, like I didn't know back then, Jackie Gleason not only was an actor, he was also an orchestra conductor. A lot of people
Mm.
don't know that about him. He had a very deep love for music. So she would buy me the CDs, and I think it was like Melancholi's Serenade, all these old school songs, like the grandparents used to use, listen to. And I'd put it in the CD player. And she goes, Jody, I want you to listen to this. You think you could play it? And I was trained so well that I could hear it, listen to it once, and I'd say, all right, Grandma, here you go. And I just play along to it without music or anything. It's just, I was so well trained with my ear and I play it. And she would be in her glory. She loved it. She was at every marching band event, every regular band, orchestra, everything. So it was cool. My family enjoyed me being in that.
And is your recorded music, is that trumpet stuff or is that singing?
It's just singing the recorded stuff. Way back when, I asked a couple of friends from high school. I said, "Do you have some stuff from marching band or Regents band?" And one friend that moved out to California, she sent me something from like 7th or 8th grade, but that was like in the way beginning. I wanted something more from high school, so I've been trying to look on YouTube and everything. But if you search anything from the 2000s, even that Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, it's like all distorted and it's the
Mm.
quality's horrible. I mean, I know that's 25 years ago, but I have to go through it and see if I could find any of the CDs. My grandma used to have it, but she's in a nursing home now.
I mean, 2000, that's still VHS time frame. I
Yeah,
mean, I
yeah, it
saw
is. Isn't that
I saw
crazy?
The Matrix on VHS. So
Mm-hmm.
that's wow.
Yeah.
Man, well, that's fun to be able to understand music like that. That man, for me, creativity and the different ways you interact with it, I visualize differently in my head. So if I'm writing poetry, I see that as coming from a different place than writing a book or even music. Like I was in band in 5th grade but
Mhm.
I was one of those kids that I guess didn't take it seriously enough, or because it was drums, I thought I'm going to learn how to play a big drum set.
Yeah.
And it was just a snare drum. And I was
Okay.
like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And you practice it. And even if you practice it a lot, you're still like, all I'm doing is, it's the basics, but
Yes.
it's not playing, it's not Guns N' Roses. So
Exactly.
the playing music now, just as a hobby, good enough for myself and not playing in front of anybody, that I feel like that in the songwriting is different than poetry, but all of that makes the other thing better because it does. I think if it's creativity is all coming from the same source, I think, but you're engaging it differently, maybe through a more specialized place with each different type of thing. So
Absolutely.
music, music different than writing, but hmm, man, that's exciting to be able to be that good at something and that committed to it. That's
Yeah,
that should
I definitely
transfer over to a
was.
lot of things.
Yeah, I think I got perfect attendance for 4 years with band. I never missed one rehearsal, one concert, nothing for 4 years. So a lot of people never got that. So, it's like those little awards I just wanted to do for myself because that's how dedicated I was. I really was for sure.
Nice. In high school, I played in a jazz band and played bass. And then there was a guy, Canadian guy, that played piano, but he had played since he was really young. And his understanding of musical theory was well past mine, to the point where, as you could do, where you could hear something and then just play it. And I never got to that point with playing music, but I've had some piano teachers that tried to explain that, like, this is eventually you're going to play enough to where it's just going to click, and then you're going to be able to understand and hear the piano and other music where people won't be able to, and you'll understand it. And
Yes.
I took lessons for years, but I never got to the point where I understood it like that. And then going back to it now, I think the adult brain is a little different than the kid brain.
Yes, for
So
sure.
got to carve out that time for it somehow.
Absolutely.
Hmm. So then also I saw on your about the author on your website
Uh-huh.
that you were a bus driver.
Yes.
Is that school bus or tour bus or what
School
kind of
bus driver for almost 20 years. Yes. That was my main job for a while.
nice.
Yeah.
When I think back to all the things that kind of connect every piece of my life, it's
Mhm.
driving.
Yep.
And that's like whether it's learning how to sail or learning how to fly or learning how to drive a car, that moving from point A to point B in some sort of vehicle that's pretty great. And in the military, I went in supposed to be infantry or combat engineer, and they had it listed as both on my contract. So then when you're in boot camp and the master sergeant, you have this time where the master sergeant towards the end tells you what your job is or where you're going to be. And he brought me in there. He's like, well, your contract's void because it has two different jobs listed in it. And I was like, oh, well, that's not bad because it'll be infantry then, because that's usually what happens. And
Yeah.
then he's like, so you're going to be in motor T and you're going to learn how to drive trucks and things. And I was like, oh, man. But I mean, it's not bad. You got to have a job and do it, but it definitely connects in with, I mean, being 16 and getting the driver's license, what a life-changing thing. And then going on from there, learning how to drive all kinds of different stuff
Sure.
and big things. And, from motorcycles to semis, hmm.
That's cool.
With your bus stuff, have you used it any other way of any on the
Um,
commercial side or
yes, well,
driving an RV?
I did have my commercial license. It was a class C. I can only drive the small school bus. I think it was up to 26,000 pounds. 16 screaming kids was enough for me. There was no pay
Mm,
differential between the small bus and the big bus. I said, I'm good with the small bus. We live in Jersey. Everybody's angry. Everybody cuts everybody off. I'm good. So I drove that. Sometimes I take the van if they assign that to me. And then also, I was mostly a fill-in, and sometimes I did it full-time in between the bus. When the kids were in school, I worked for the borough of Bergenfield as the senior bus driver. So I would just pick up the seniors from town, take them to their doctor's appointments, bring them back. So I did that in between. So I was always a hard worker, always just trying to make a way in life. And again, I enjoyed it. The kids were always well behaved in the bus, I have to say, for the most part. The seniors I always got along with, took them food shopping, like I said, appointments. And, that's just a part of life. It wasn't exactly what I envisioned, but I never thought I'd write a book either. So, life has a way of taking its own course, and we just got to ride the wave.
nice. For a minute, I thought you were going to say the seniors were more rowdy than the kids.
No, they were actually pretty well behaved. So I have to say.
Did you use any of that stuff that you learned with music and profession in writing? Did any of that transfer over?
Not really, I have to say, because it was, like I said, just two different mindsets. What my mind was focused on musically, and this was specifically just my life experience and what I went through, and it just poured out of me on the portal. So I kind of differentiated it and just you know, did it my own writing style. Like I said, I was not a school person. I did not pay attention. It did not interest me. I'm not going to lie. I was only there for band. That's really honestly the reason why I graduated, because I had to be in every, concert and everything. I was section leader senior year. And, I just took whatever little bit I knew about writing. I honestly didn't even look up how to write a book. I just said, okay, let's just see what comes out. And as it was coming out of me, I liked what was, coming out, the words. So I said, all right, this sounds pretty good. And then I just went with it. So sometimes we just have it in us. We just have to believe to see what the end result is.
Yeah, that drive to practice 3 hours a day definitely, I think, helped with the writing, because I think that's where a lot of people that start writing get lost, is they
Yep.
just don't keep going. I mean, the first thing of
Yes.
writing is you have to write it down. So you get the idea, then you have to write it down, and then you have to do something more with it, which is put it into a story or whatever.
Yep.
Did you find yourself taking notes or anything like throughout the day when you're thinking
Oh,
about it, or it just pops up and you go, I'm going to write this down to have this to
yeah, it
start
would
off
be
with?
more, yeah, it'd be more so if like I was through a chapter and then I wanted to take a break. I'd write it on my notes on my phone and be like, oh, don't forget to add this chapter 4. Don't forget to add this. But
Mm.
it, like I said, when I dedicated my time, I'm like, okay, I can't be bothered. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm one of those people that once I set my mind to something, I'm going to do it, and most likely early, because I'm always 10 steps ahead. I believe in being organized, and you have to have structure. And it's not because I'm a person that needs it. It's just, I just think life goes so much easier when you do that, because there's so much unpredictability in life anyway. You might as well have structure with things you can. And like I said, I set a goal to myself when I wanted the book to be done and completed and out. And I stuck to the outline. It was really more the editing and proofreading and all that other stuff that was the pain in the butt at the end, that you have to, triple check, double check. Oh my God, how many times I have to read over the manuscript? My eyes were
Mm.
getting all scrambled after a while, but you have to make sure it's a good, complete, finished product.
Yeah, that's how I gauge whether the book is done. Maybe not done to the point where you couldn't do more to it, but done like to the point you're done with it at that moment, because you've read it so many times, you're getting sick of it. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. And like with my book, like I've said on other podcasts, I wanted to be a little different. Like I've always done a little bit of modeling and acting on the side too. So I decided to make a 2-minute teaser trailer to the book. I filmed with my acting friends in New Jersey. So that's on my website as well. So I think that's a little different. It grabs people. See, because they say move in silence. And I did. I think like only 4 people knew I was writing the book. People that I could trust, and I know they wouldn't say anything because I wanted everybody to be surprised because I went under the radar quiet, and I just put a reel out there. I think it was like before Thanksgiving, like around the end of November. And everybody's like, "Oh, you did an acting gig?" Because I opened up a new Facebook after I left my ex. And I said, "Yes." And they're like, "Oh," they're like, "What's it about?" And then they kept watching it. They're like, "But wait, it looks like a book cover with your name on it." They're like, "I don't understand. You wrote a book?" I said, "Yes." And they're like, "What's it about?" I said, "My autobiography on what I went through." And everybody was shocked because, like I said, I'm not known to be a writer. A lot of people knew I did some acting stuff on the side. And when it came out, that blew up right away. That trailer, which was good, it gave a lot of traction. And then I told everybody, I think it was December 12th that came out. I said, "Here you go." I said, "Here's the link to my book," and everybody's like, "Whoa, this is crazy." So you had that buildup of momentum and things, and it just kind of took its own full force from there.
Did you have any readers that read the manuscript before you published it just to see what the initial thoughts of it were?
No, honestly, it was just me reading the manuscript and just taking that chance and saying, "All right, go for it." So I haven't had any complaints on it. Everybody said they liked it. People that I know, people that I don't know have written to me, said that the minute they picked up the book, they could not put it down. They had to finish it. And they really felt like they were in my shoes and they lived it with me, which was what I was going for, that feel. So it was good that people that I know said that, people I didn't know say that. And also, not to be too much of a spoiler with the book, like I said, I like to do things different in the back because, it's a very kind of dark subject and you have to get the point across what happened. My gullibility on a couple of things, the love bombing, the triangulation, the gaslighting, the trauma bonding, all these big words. And we went on to say in the book at the end, once I left him and everything, I took a picture with everybody and said, "These are all my people, my unit of people that have stuck by me, my therapist, my friends, my family." I took all individual pictures with them at the end of the book. And then at the very end, which I think is really makes it the chef's kiss, I put let's just say, choice text messages and pictures of my ex and the mistress in there. So, and it wasn't to prove my point that, "Oh, I'm not lying. I'm not just telling the story." Everybody knows what happened. But I put it in there because it just makes it more concrete. And especially the people who don't know me, it brings the book more to life because it's like, "Oh, wow, like we read about what she went through and like what he did." But then you can see in real time the messages how the narcissist speaks ill of their main supply, AKA me, the girlfriend slash fiance. And, how him and this older woman, who's older than my mother, who's married, how they both said, "Yeah, we're both going to cheat on our spouses," and just how they just speak disgustingly of you behind their back, and just craziness. It was things I could not put in the book because it's like, how can people talk like this? And then at that time, you're sharing a home with that person. So you are living with the devil. It's like that movie back in the day with Julia Roberts, Sleeping with the Enemy. That's exactly the feel of the book, and putting that at the end because it's like, no, this is what they do behind your back. This is what they say. This is what they think of you. They speak of you. And I just wanted to bring the readers that awareness of like, "Hey, yeah, this really did happen." Of course, I wasn't going to put all the thousands of messages I was sent anonymously, but I took a good amount of them just to have people really see what I was going through. And they were like, "Wow." They're like, "No offense, you got some cojones on you." I'm like, "Hey, I'm here to write my book." I said, "It's full transparency. I'm real, I'm raw, and I tell the truth." I said, "Proof is in the pudding." There it is. So that was like the big wow at the end of the book, which again, I think makes it a little different too.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of lends itself to the developing of the story in your mind's eye when you're reading it. So it's like reading a movie, and then you get to
Yes.
see the real stuff at the end.
Absolutely.
In those movies where they have actors playing parts, and then at the end you see the whole or the real people from the story. It reminds me of that. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. What's the best way for people to be able to get a copy of your book and to see what you're working on and what's next?
Yeah, absolutely. They can go on Amazon and either search Jodi Lynn Pavlock or the title of the book, Jekyll Can't Hide, HYDE. Good play on words I did there. They can also go on my website, www.jodilynnpavlock.com. They could see the trailer, the link to the book, about the bio, about me, everything that I've done. And I'm very active on social media. Facebook, I'm Meta Certified Jodi Lynn Pavlock. Instagram, Jodi Pavlock, and TikTok, Jodi P 1984. And I also run, if you can see with the banner, it's called Jodi's Triumph. I run a narcissistic abuse support group on Facebook. So anybody's more than welcome to join. We talk about narcissism, abusive relationships openly on the group. And then if anybody is uncomfortable with that, they can always message me. I get flooded a lot with messages, but I get back to everybody in a timely manner as much as I can and try to help.
Nice. On your website, does it have your social media links on that?
I don't think it has the social media links. I think it's just more for going straight to the book to sell it, and my PR agent's info and the book trailer. So we got to add that on there as well because I just got Meta certified, so I want to add that on there too.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, your website looks good. Is that a thing that you do on your own?
No, I actually had like a graphics arts designer, especially with the book cover. I took one of my modeling photos and I told them exactly what I wanted, especially with the website too. I wanted it to look a little dark because this was the darkest time in my life. And it's funny because that modeling photo shoot I did was specifically for my ex-fiance. Even though I did modeling on the side, I made a whole book for him, just like a special book for him, with different outfits and everything else. And that one picture, it looks like I'm just staring out into like the abyss, And I said, that's a good photo. And then I had him add the mascara because that's all he did was make me cry. And he's like, well, what do you want for the narcissist in the background? I was thinking of doing the half and half, but I'm like, no, people are going to get the idea that I'm the narcissist, half my face, half his. I'll use that photo now with promoting it because people know he's the narcissist, I'm the empath. So I had a devil behind my shoulder because to me, that's really what they are, insidious and not of this world. And with that smirk he would always give. So we used that with the devil and then me. So it's like him always lurking over my shoulder. And then with the website, we stuck with like the black background. And then you'll see in different parts, there'll be a lot of my logo. It's like a heart and then a queen symbol with the crown. That's one of my tattoos. It's covered now on my arm because I love to gamble. But that was a tattoo, I would say, 2 weeks before I left my ex, before I knew of the second affair, whatever you want to call it. And I knew something was wrong and it was coming to an end. And I was in Vegas by myself doing a blackjack class. And I just wanted something empowering. And I said, you know what? I love cards. I have to start thinking of myself as a queen, the heart to love yourself and, the crown, obviously. And that's like my signature logo because it's on my arm. And now it's like part of the book and part of me. So I really wanted to make it personalized.
Okay. Well, I had the link for your website in the show notes, and maybe
Great.
I'll get those other ones from you and put those in as well. Is
Sure.
there anything else you wanted to talk about that we didn't, or any thoughts in closing?
Yeah, just I think just to let everybody know, the listeners, I know narcissism is something that's not spoke about enough, and I'm just trying to shed light on a topic that needs to be discussed more because there are unfortunately so many people that are in these toxic relationships in all ways, shapes, and forms. It could be domestic, it could be just mental abuse, toxic, narcissistic. And I just want to help others get out of those situations if they can. And I have to say, I'm very proud. There are a couple of people that personally reached out to me and said they ended 30-year marriages, or they walked out on their narcissistic boyfriend because they realized they were in an abusive relationship. Sometimes you're gaslit for so long. And unfortunately, if you don't confide in anybody, you're in your own head and don't realize it. So, the book is doing its purpose, which is to help people and just better their lives and know their worth. That nobody is worth them bringing their mental health down to a level where you have to question your own sanity. That's not love. That's insidious. So I'm just here to help people, and hopefully the book will continue to be on the rise and just continue to help others.
Nice. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been a
Yes,
pleasure talking to you. And like I said, the links will be in the show notes for people that want to check those out.
definitely. Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right. I'll talk to you on the other side of this musical exit here.
Okay,
No,
perfect. Thank
no,
you.
no trumpet music. It's just drums. So.
All right, that's good. I like drums.
All right.